Which console is better for streamers? Today, hopefully I can help you figure that out. What's up? I'm Rings, aka the Sneaky Panda, the one and only host for Ringleaders Gaming. This is a place where we give you the most current news, tips, and tricks on the most popular game streaming platforms, so that you can have the best game streaming experience. And for all my little ringleaders that definitely want to come through and talk and chat later, whether it's about streaming or just games, I stream on Twitch and YouTube. And lastly, all the links to anything that I do choose to mention will be in the description box down below. Now let's get to the topic of the day. Which console is better for streamers? This is kind of a polarizing question because you do have people that are loyal to both brands. And it doesn't matter what I or anyone says, they will most likely buy the brand that they want, because that's what brand loyalty is. They're comfortable with that brand, they like what that product offers, and they're used to it, so they stick with it. If you're one of those people, hey, if you watch this entire video, I'm gonna go ahead and say thanks. But what if you are a streamer and you're unbiased and you don't really care which brand you get, but you're trying to make a decision on which console you would like to purchase? Then this content is for you. To start, there could be a lot of factors that could sway your decision on which you should purchase. Say you're someone that's price conscious and you don't want to spend $500, or you can't afford to spend $500 on one of the latest consoles, but you still want to play the latest titles that are coming out. What do you choose? The way that I want to start this is we're going to try to break this down into a few of, I guess, the biggest selling factors of the new series of consoles and what they'll offer. And we'll try to dive into the good and the bad of each console to try to help you figure out what would be the best for you for streaming if you're a console gamer, specifically Xbox and PlayStation. To start this breakdown, we are going to start with price. Price is definitely one of the biggest things that's going to matter this generation, and both companies know it, Sony and Microsoft, which is why they've tried to price their consoles as aggressively as they thought that they could in order to try to get out in front of the consumer. Both companies are now releasing a pair of consoles instead of just one console, which this is the first time this has happened pretty much in console history, at least since I've been alive. So let's start. Microsoft's Xbox comes in two flavors, the Series X and the Series S. The Series S comes in at a delicious $299. Stop it, that's a snack. Meanwhile, the Series X comes in at a hefty $499. Now, with such a huge price difference, you're probably wondering, like, what's the difference between the two? It's not as complicated as what people are making it seem. They're just really designed to hit two different resolutions, and that's about it. The Series X was designed for 4K gaming, and the Series S was designed for 1440p gaming. They both feature the same CPU, the same GPU. It's just the Series S has a scaled down GPU that's designed for 1440p gaming. There's more to this picture though than just the base cost and performance. Microsoft also has two monthly plans that offer even more value to the two consoles that they're releasing. They call it Game Pass All Access. And All Access basically gives you the console and Game Pass bundled into one monthly price. So for $24.99 you get the Xbox Series S, and that comes with Game Pass Ultimate. And for $34.99 you get the Xbox Series X, that comes with Game Pass Ultimate. Sony, on the other hand, their situation's a lot less complex. They are releasing two versions of their console, the PS5 Digital Edition and then just the PS5. The only difference between the two is the PS5 has a Blu-ray disc drive and the PS5 Digital does not. They're pretty much exactly the same console. The Digital Edition comes in at $399 and the PS5 Standard Edition, I guess you could say, comes in at $499, so it matches the price of the highest end Xbox. Considering that with Xbox they give you a lot more ways to purchase, and they even start at a more affordable price of $299, I think I'm gonna have to give them the point in this arena, because if you're a streamer, $299, you save $100, you could spend that on purchasing games or peripherals or additional technology to better your streams. You can get the Xbox Series S, save $100, or do the monthly plan, and the $300 that you would have spent, you can invest that in something else. And next, on to games and exclusives. This one definitely has to be talked about because without content, how should you determine which one that you should buy? People want to see content, whether you are a content creator on YouTube or you are a streamer on Twitch. First, I think to handle this, we're going to lay out both of the consoles' similarities. Then we're going to move on to the things that make them great and the things that differentiate them from the other. First, both consoles support backwards compatibility. The PlayStation 5 supports backwards compatibility with all PlayStation 4 titles, so if you have a lot of PlayStation 4 exclusives, you should be able to run them on your PlayStation 5. Though there are, a few caveats around that, such as the fact that you can't play PlayStation 4 games with the PlayStation 5 controller, so you have to have your PlayStation 4 controller. So there's a little bit of hoops to jump around, but either way, both consoles support backwards compatibility. Xbox supports, I think, all the way back to the original Xbox. That's insane. Both companies are supporting their last generation consoles. I think Microsoft said they're going to be supporting the Xbox One for up to either 1 or 2 years, and PlayStation said they were going to be supporting the PlayStation 4 up to 2 to 3 years, I think. And the cost of games is going to go up. Sony has already listed that their exclusives are going to be $69.99, and I would expect this to be something that goes across the industry. I would expect most AAA titles to come in at $69.99 at this point. Also, neither console really has any serious console exclusives coming out at launch. People thought that Spider-Man Miles Morales was going to be a console exclusive, and they thought that Demon's Souls was going to be a console exclusive, but then it turns out that both of those games are going to be on PS4. So neither console really has too many exclusives that are only designed and created for these new consoles. Now, on to differences and the benefits. We'll start with Sony. To address the elephant in the room, Sony had all the exclusives last gen. They really did. They gorilla stomped all over Xbox with exclusives. Sony is pretty much known at this point for the best single player experiences that you can have on a console. If you really love story games and those exclusives, then Sony might be the choice for you. And not only that, they even have somewhat of a Game Pass competitor. It's called PS Now. It has over, I think, 800 games at this point. But again, there's some more caveats to that. 500 of those games can only be streamed, and that's PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 games. The PlayStation 4 games, there's 300 titles in there, and that's going to include titles from other publishers and then some older Sony exclusives as well. Those can be downloaded locally onto your PlayStation or streamed as well. PS Now isn't priced too crazy either. So if you decide that you like it and you want to keep it, $60, that's about $5 a month. You get a year's worth of PS Now. So that's a year's worth of those games to play for $60. And if you decide that you don't want to pay the yearly fee, then it jumps up to $10. So $10 a month. One more caveat. If you buy PS Now, that does not include PlayStation Plus. So you will not have like online play and stuff like that for some of the titles because that requires PlayStation Plus, which is a separate fee. So that's going to be the same thing, $60 a year or $10 a month. Now on to Xbox. If we were going by last generation as an example of where Xbox was going to be now, I could probably say that you should go with PlayStation because they had all the exclusives. But this generation, it's different. Microsoft at this point is wielding their almighty subscription service Game Pass, and they've got huge developers under their belt now at this point, including Bethesda and id Software. They have 23 studios in total, and they are going to be throwing exclusive after exclusive after exclusive after exclusive. They're going to be throwing exclusives like DJ Khaled.
Another one, another one, another one, and another one.
With that being said, if you choose to become a subscriber in Game Pass, you're going to have a ton of games, and they're not going to be all old games either. With this new slew of studios that Microsoft now owns, you're going to be able to get all of the newest titles released day one. You could pre-install them and day one play them without having to go to a store and purchase or anything like that. So that is a huge bonus for Microsoft, especially if you're one of those people like me. These games are getting expensive. You don't want to buy a game and then the game sucks and then you lost $70. At least with Game Pass, you can test the game. If you like it, you buy it at a discount. No harm, no foul, right? The reason why this is important for streamers is because now that Microsoft owns all of these huge studios, and they said that they're going to be buying more. Now that they own all of these huge studios, sometimes being the first on a game can catapult you in a category, right? Maybe you can turn that game into a trend. Maybe you can hop on the trend when it becomes a thing and gain some type of leverage from playing something new that everyone is on. I mean, especially if it's from developers like id or Bethesda, or even their new studio that they're building, The Initiative. So basically, you know, for those that stream a lot of random games and play a lot of random games, this matters because to be the first to hop on a trending game, that could possibly boost you up, whether you're a content creator on YouTube or you're a streamer. And not only that, with the promise of a lot more single player stories coming to Xbox due to the fact that they now own all of these studios, you can enjoy the games along the way while you're trying to grow your stream and your content. So for those that stream a lot of random games or record a lot of random games for YouTube or anything like that, you know, these services definitely going to be a benefit to you because you're not forced to spend full price on all these games. You can go through a gambit of games to try and record and really showcase yourself to the world. And Game Pass has a little bit more features as well. It doesn't just stay on Xbox. You can also get Game Pass Ultimate, and that encompasses PC as well. So for $14.99 a month, you get games on PC, you get games on Xbox, and on top of that, Xbox Live Gold is involved, which means you get 3 games a month, and you're not looking at spending $20 a month just for some games. Conclusion, I'm gonna give this 1 point to Microsoft because they really put their foot in the ground when it came to Game Pass. I think that they hit the nail on the head with this one, but Sony's no slouch either. If they can figure out a way to compete on those terms, say make their own service, you know, say PS Now, and they include all of their main titles in there, it would level the playing ground, and it might even lean the community more in their direction because they're known for having great exclusives. But unfortunately, I don't think they're gonna do that. They've already said that they don't think it's viable, so I wouldn't expect that, Sony fans.
Here's what he had to say. For us, having a catalog of games is not something that defines a platform. Our pitch, as you've heard, is new games, great games. We've had this conversation before. We are not going to go down the road of putting new release titles into a subscription model. These games cost many millions of dollars, well over $100 million to develop. We just don't see that as sustainable. We want to make the games bigger and better, and hopefully at some stage more persistent. So putting those into a subscription model on day one for us just doesn't make any sense. For others in a different situation, it might well make sense, but for us it doesn't. We want to expand and grow our existing ecosystem, and putting new games into a subscription model just doesn't sit with that.
And now we're on capturing. And this one's important because if you're streaming, you're probably capturing that gameplay. We're gonna attempt to try to answer a few questions that we assume people may ask around capturing gameplay with these new consoles, so yeah, just stick around. We know this generation that both companies are dropping some of the most powerful consoles that they've ever released in history. But what does that power really mean for streamers? Does it mean that your KD ratio is going to be higher? Does it mean that your stream's going to look 10 times better? Does it mean that your stream's going to run 10 times smoother? This one's a tricky one. First off, we're going to have to talk about the max resolutions that you could stream on all of these services. 1080p, 60 frames per second. That is the cap, which means all of that 4K goodness is not really going to get experienced on the streams. Not only that, if you don't have the right hardware that you're using to capture the equipment, you're probably not even going to get to watch that in 4K locally. If you have something like the Elgato HD60, which only does 1080p 60 FPS, you're going to have to drop the resolution inside your console settings to 1080p 60 FPS to actually push the signal through to the TV and push the signal through to be captured for your stream. The only thing that we should really see that increases is maybe visuals with these games. Now that some games are going to be ray tracing capable, and run at 60 frames per second up to 120 frames per second. I think that some games are going to look a lot smoother on stream because the consoles are more powerful, but I don't think it's going to affect your stream really any. Now let's say you're one of these fancy streamers and you have a card capable of picking up 4K content. Well, this is good for you. You still can't stream in 4K, but you'll definitely be able to capture gameplay in 4K and use that footage later, whether you're making the content for YouTube or whatever services you want. I don't know, Vimeo. And one more thing. Let's say you are new to streaming and you can't afford a capture card. What are your options then to capture your gameplay? PlayStation 4 has the ability to stream directly to Twitch right now, so that's one option. Xbox has one more feature that I think is underutilized. Let's say that you are just getting into streaming and you can't afford a capture card, but you do have, maybe like a cheap Windows PC that was like, $400 or $500. You can actually use the Xbox app and you can stream your gameplay from your console to your PC and then use something like OBS or Streamlabs OBS and capture that gameplay and stream it directly to a streaming service. So pretty much as long as you have a good internet connection, your stream will look nice. With that being said, I kind of want to call this one a tie, only because A, the consoles aren't out yet, and B, we don't really have any titles to really benchmark the full capabilities of these consoles to show how the games would actually look on your stream with all of these new features from RDNA 2.0. But since I just don't have one in my hand, I can't definitively say which one's gonna look better. I kind of want to give the point to Xbox though, because of features. The ability to stream without a capture card directly into OBS. If you're streaming from the PlayStation to Twitch, you can't really modify your overlay or anything. It comes as is. Whereas if you're streaming from the Xbox to a PC, you can create an overlay, capture the display, you can use the webcam on your laptop, and even if the webcam on your laptop is kind of garbage, at least you have some type of design or idea of where you want to go. But currently, since we don't really have enough info on this, I'm gonna say this one's a tie. So with all of that being said and all of this information, we have to come to some kind of conclusion on which console is better for the unbiased streamer. In my opinion, personally, I think the Xbox wins this because they are just starting off right. The right prices, the right performance, the right services, the right value, and the right studios to provide some good gaming experiences down the road. We all would love to experience really great games in our streams with viewers, but again, this is my opinion. This is really going to come down to you as the consumer. Which console has the features and price point and games that you would like to play? You may be intrigued by playing Bloodborne because you've never played it. You may want to dive into PS Now, or you may like how the PlayStation looks, or you may be seduced by the Series X and the Series S's ability to promise a locked 60 frames per second to make your streams look a little bit smoother. You may even choose a console based on size because you want something small that's going to fit on your desk. So you may end up going with the Series S or the Series X just because they're smaller. Whichever console you are choosing, why don't you drop me a comment? Let me know why, because I'm actually curious. I don't know what you may decide to choose in the end or why you choose to decide it. So, I'm kind of curious. Oh, and while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that notification bell too, like it's spitting your food or something. Anyway, with that being said, peace. Rings out.